Hello again. I'm back at Rosario Head near Deception Pass. I painted this beautiful old madrone tree last night, and while I was here I saw this other view. While I was painting, I was checking out that background cliff. The light stayed pretty consistent and the shadows just darkened and got a little more interesting. The cool white rock in the distance against some bluish shadows that I wanted to try to capture. So this is the area I want to paint. I'll probably zoom in a bit, focus on that cliff face, those rocks tumbling down into the water, all the different hues of trees and bush, grasses, and the beautiful reflection in the water. So I'll get set up, do a quick oil painting. I'm going to go with an 11 by 14 inch panel. It's nice long summer days, so the light's going to stay pretty consistent. I can take my time and try to capture a beautiful scene. I kind of know what to expect as far as the shadows go because I was here last night. So that'll help. I can mix up a few of the colors I think are going to show up ahead of time and just adjust them as I go. As always, thanks so much for joining me. If you like these videos, please like and subscribe. There's a small wedding going on behind me, so I'm trying to be quiet. I'll start with a quick sketch. I'll take a small bristle brush and dilute the paint with Gamsol. I'm not trying for detail or any great accuracy with the sketch. I just want to place the big shapes. The sketch will give me a guide, a starting point, that I can use to do the Gamsol wash. I'm working with a 11 by 14 inch oil primed linen panel from Guerrilla Painters. I have the same palette, same set of colors out that I've been using for the last two paintings here at Rosario Head. Starting with a sketch, lay that in quickly and just capture the landmarks where I want the banks of the bay. This is Bowmay Bay out in front of us. In this initial sketch, I'm going a little beyond what I normally do with the small brush. Once I have the basic lines down, I then place some bigger areas of color. Place some points of interest and give myself a guide for the painting. I'll adjust these in the wash, but I want to make sure that I get down what drew me to the scene in the first place the night before, the warm and cool colors in the shadows. Alright, there's the wash in. I added a little bit of dark just to help guide me as I add the true color paint. So now I'll clean off my palette and I'll mix up the full colors matching the scene. Colors mixed up per usual. I've got some colors over here left over from the earlier painting I did here today. Instead of going through all these colors, I'm just going to start painting and tell you a little bit about the colors as I go. I'll start with this rosemary evergreen. Make sure it's nice and clean since I've been using it. And paint the sky. I've got the highest value paint here. This almost the highest. The highest actually is some of the highlights I'm seeing on the rock where the sun is hitting it. Beautiful, peachy, slightly pink color. So I've got this as the majority of the sky, and I'll use this toward the top of the sky where it's just a little bit darker, and then this is a little greener version of that. So these are all cerulean blue, gambling radiant lemon and titanium white. I'll use these where the sky is reflecting on the water as well. I just paint thin and mostly downstrokes for the sky. For me, that pushes it back, helps it recede. Paint down over where I think the hill's going to go so I can paint back into it with the trees. Since the sun is directly behind me, there's no real strong shadow pattern. Go ahead and map in some of this water as well. And there's a band of pretty vibrant, not vibrant, but slightly darker green right here, just catching the barest reflection of these trees. But where the wind has the water rippled, it's almost the same value as the sky, just slightly darker. See a little bit of ultramarine blue in there, so I'm going to use some of this color that I had earlier that's almost the same, just slightly more blue. That seems a little dark, so I'm going to go back into this, lighten this up some. Using a big brush just to cover the panel as quickly as I can, and some variety to the brush strokes, although most of the brush strokes for the water are side to side. I can pick up a little bit of pure ultramarine and then blend it into the pile. That helps me judge how strong it is. There's some boats out there. I'm not going to worry about painting down here. I might add those in later in the studio. Now as it gets closer to the bottom of the panel, it gets more green with the reflected light, because I'm seeing down into the water some. And I can kind of suggest in a big way the waves. The waves are coming in kind of like this. They get flatter as they get closer to the top of the panel. But these have a little bit of a diagonal angle to them. I can dip into some of these the higher value sky colors just to add a little variety. Suggest the pattern of the waves. I find it doesn't help to take too much time on the water. If you get too fiddly about trying to paint every single reflection, it just turns to mud, at least for me. So if I can do it in a big way, a big pattern, and then at the end I can add just some slight dabs or maybe a palette knife edge of cleaner color, that works for me, usually. I'm going to darken some of these troughs in the soft, gentle waves, a little bit with some of this background tree color. Needs to be a little warmer, so I'm going to add some of this more yellow for the closer set of trees. It's a little dark. Correct the drawing a little bit here as I go. Carving out a few rocks. Little tide pools. Alright, now I'm going to go into the background trees with the same brush. Let's see how this looks against the sky. Chroma and the value. Oh, that looks okay. In reality, it's a little richer, a little warmer, but I don't want to make it too warm. I don't want to bring the trees forward. I don't want to bring that background forward. I want to keep it pushed back, so I'm deliberately keeping it grayer and cooler. If that doesn't work, I can always do a really thin cad yellow wash later back in the studio. I want just a little bit of this. Higher value yellow ochre mixture for this bank. Yellow ochre is a nice color because it's vibrant when you need it. If you put a dab of yellow ochre or include it in your wash, it has a nice glow, but it's not a hot yellow, it's a cooler yellow in my opinion, so it stays back and you can gray it down easily. I'm keeping these edges really soft, nowhere close to drawing individual trees, just suggesting shadow patterns. Trying to vary the warm and cool within mostly the same value. Now toward the bottom of the trees here, it's a little darker and a little richer, so picked up just a little bit of this foreground green. That's good enough. Looks like that reads. There's a couple tree trunks showing, so I'm going to grab a little of this yellow ochre with some white and just suggest, actually maybe I can just use the back of my palette knife and scrape these tree trunks for now. I don't want a random pattern. I don't want an equal pattern, I just want a couple random marks, maybe even. Something like that, good enough. Okay, now I'm gonna richen this up. Pick up these more vibrant colors and come forward with the greens. I want that to stand in front, and you can accomplish that by keeping the chroma just a little bit richer in the background. But it has to stay duller than this because this is closer, especially this area, the center of interest. So I don't want to go too rich back here. Now, I think I want to go ahead and take a smaller brush and add in some of these highlight colors. There's a beautiful yellow right in here, going into this peachy highlight right along here. And it's also way back in the distance, just tiny little marks of it. There's a nice string of it, nice string of highlight down here along the bank, the base of the rocks. Beautiful piece of it here. I can even pick up some of this more pink. Beautiful pink tones here. as it goes into shadow. You can add a little bit of that back here as well. Make it resonate. I'm going to go a little richer, a little redder, alizarin crimson and white than what I'm actually seeing here. I want it to pop. Just trying to roughly map out these landmarks so I don't miss them as I'm painting the scene. Here I'm adding some shadows into that light paint I just put down, and I'm trying to keep these shadows in this area a little bit warm. I'll have some nice cool shadows too. I've got some colors left over from earlier that I thought would work fine for that, so I just kept them. There's also some beautiful tiny little fractures in the rocks down here, where the rock meets the water. And I can just soften it up as it goes off the panel over here. I'll drop in a little bit of this vibrant blue shadow. I'm exaggerating it. This is what I'm seeing here in person is not near this vibrant blue, but I just want to try it. Because when I look at the center of interest here and take in the surrounding scene, these shadows really pop out as blue to me. And then this one back here is a little more lavender, a little more purple. It's a little crazy, but I think it works. I try to keep a lot of grays in my painting because I think that grays are what really make the colorful. Grays are what really make the more vibrant colors pop. So I want grays, but it really helps to focus on the center of interest and take in the surrounding scene with your peripheral vision, and then trust what you're seeing and react to it and exaggerate it maybe just a little. It takes practice. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Go back to painting the light on the trees. Carry that forward a little bit. Now some of these trees up front here are vibrant. I'm just going to leave the underpainting showing in some spots here, because I'm losing the light. Trying to keep my shadow pattern intact that I established during the wash. So if you're looking for no tan, the shadow comes in the darks come in along here and then creep up here in several spots, and it's also connected up this here. Real subtle though, not real obvious. Some shadow there. It seems surprisingly warm. So warm it up just a little bit. Not dark enough. Alright, I took a step back. I think it's working. This water, where the reflection of the hill is going to be, it really looks wild at the moment, but it actually looks kind of cool because of the drips are streaking down the panel. I want to think about maybe pulling the streaks down like that and then go across with just a few horizontals to make it look like water. So I just need to keep moving, keep progressing. There's some beautiful, vibrant foliage on these hills. As the sun is hitting them, they're really glowing. Don't want to cover everything up that I did earlier. Just want to add a few. Add some shadows. There's a blue shadow I'm missing right here. It's a beautiful, slightly higher value blue. There's some reflected light from the water hitting the stone. So it's slightly green even. I'm going to throw some of this mixed greens in there as well. Too high a value. Needs to be a little darker. Alright, I'm pretty happy with the mountain and the rock. I want to lighten this area up more, but I want to paint the reflection in the water first and just step back and see how everything ties together. I want to paint that dull, slightly darker water back in the far background too. That might be a little dark. Bigger brush. Use these same tree and rock colors that I mixed up, but slightly muddied. Alright, pretty much done. I'm mixing up just a little bit of high value orange to try to bring up the center of interest where the grass is really catching beautiful warm sunlight now. Yeah, that's better. That helps. I don't want to blend with what I already have there, so I'm just using the palette knife. Darken it and darken it with just a little bit of yellow ochre. And add some back here as well. Not dark enough. Don't want to overdo it, but I want to add just a little bit here and there to tie together. Yeah. More shadows are showing up, and I'm kind of chasing them. I want to stop. Okay. I'll call that good. Now I just want to take this soft badger hair brush and knock down some of these edges where they're catching light, like these trunks I put in. I want them there, but they're a little crude. I can clean them up later easier if they don't have big ridges of paint. I can kind of sweep to the side and suggest branches too. Call that good. Well, here's where it ended up. Yeah, beautiful day, beautiful place to paint. Really enjoyed that one. I like how rough and abstract it is, but it still reads when you step back. And the colors are not quite what I'm seeing in the scene, but they really pop. I like the blues and lavenders I threw in. To me it gives a sense of strong late evening summer light. Nice warm summer light. Well, as always, thanks so much for joining me. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Please like and subscribe and share it. That helps the channel out a lot. I'll touch it up a little bit and put it out on my website, and I'll see you in the next one. If you'd like to support the channel, please visit my website. I sell these little plein air pieces at a reasonable price because I consider them practice. It really makes me happy when someone likes my art enough that they want to hang it in their home. You can also sign up for my newsletter and stay up to date on my new work and shows and get a discount on original art and prints.